Call the June 10th, 2024 meeting of the Southborough Personnel Board to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes. Any corrections, changes to the minutes? Nope. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? We don't.
No one's here, right?
No. Ariane,
Then I abstain because I wasn't here, or can I just approve them?
it's up to you. Your choice.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't.
Okay. Thank you. The expenditure ledgers in the minutes are approved. The expenditure ledger is in the packets. You can see we paid for a couple of trainings listed there. Unless there's anything else on that, I will move on to chair's report. Few things. One, I'm very happy to report that as of yesterday, the employee handbook has been distributed to employees. I should note that town council advised that it did not have to be approved by select board. So we didn't have to go through that process. So it is out there. And I'm very pleased with that. Thank you for getting that.
It was sent to select board. Select board didn't have any questions or issues.
Thank you. Secondly, on training, I attended Kate Federoff's session last week. I thought it was extremely well attended. This room was pretty full. It was about 2.5 hours long. It was very comprehensive on discrimination and harassment law, and I thought people seemed to pay attention. There were a lot of questions. I learned a lot about dogs that I didn't know before, but I thought it was a very successful program. So I think our money was well spent there. Tuition reimbursement, just an update. There's nothing really to report on that. The team is still waiting on information from other towns that they can use to come back to the board. I want to introduce our new fire chief. Thank you for coming to our August body. He's Chief Printini. For any of you who have not met him, welcome to Southborough.
Thank you.
As I told you in person, I've heard very good things about you, and I know people who work for you think very highly of you. So
Glad to hear. Thank you.
one last announcement that's not on the agenda. I advised Paul Semino last week that I'm stepping down from personnel board effective at the end of the meeting today. I want to say thank you to all the members of the board. It's been a pleasure working with you all. I appreciate all the time and effort you put into that. Vanessa, thank you for all your work. It's made my job a lot easier. Katie, thank you for doing a wonderful job on the minutes. Melanie's not here, but she got us through the salary study. So thank you. And Mark, Brian, thank you for all your support over the last few years. All right, moving on to Vanessa.
In your packet is our monthly memo about employee transitions, or we're very happy to welcome Lisa Novello as our part-time administrative assistant in the recreation department, as well as Chris Lund. Even happier to welcome him. He will be our new building commissioner starting on July 1st.
Great news. It's going forward, and we'll be talking about that later in the meeting.
Yes.
Any questions on that? Okay, we're going to move around.
Oh, sorry. Just a comment. Now that we have a step system for FY25, can we start adding a column into the memos for that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to jump to item 6D now. So John, this is the point that which you leave us briefly.
Bye, John.
6D,
D is Delta.
the recreation. Okay.
I've got my phone, I have to send someone out there.
We'll throw rocks.
Okay, Jen, do you want to?
Yeah. All right, so our current recreation director left us about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. And we've been going through the process with Vanessa and others to find and recruit a new director. We had one that we made offer to that we thought we were going to be appointing that backed out because their town came back and offered more money. We have a second candidate who is also excellent. We really had a deep pool. We were excited. We had a lot of local directors all applying to our role. So we had a second person that we were just as excited about, who is still in contention. The challenge we are facing, honestly, is our salary. So through conversations over this last week or so, I will admit, learning the salaries and understanding the logistics of this has been a whole new challenge. But where we're at right now is that I believe we are able to offer to the midpoint, which is around 94,000. Our budget for Tim going into this year was set around 98,000. And the person we'd like to offer to, it appears in their town budgets that their budget is 113. They offered up that they made 107. They said they'd be willing to come like between 103 and 105. But even 103 is significantly higher than what we're approved to make an offer at right now. So wanted to be able to have the conversation with you guys about, so I had sent you some numbers, but how close could we get to that? We were as a group eyeing last week is it A7 step 11, which gets them to around a little over 102. But really want to have the conversation about like how high can we go in the salary to get a rec director, and then like what are we looking at here? My opinion is that, and I sent you some other numbers, like our neighbors average out to 102. The average across the state for 38, 37 towns that I could get access to is 100.5. And then our immediate neighbors, we average out to 98,000 a year. So like if we want to be able to hire a director with experience, ideally a sitting director to come in and continue what Tim has built, it's going to cost us more than our midpoint. And the commission would really like to be able to bring in somebody with experience, that we feel that Tim really did an amazing job over the last 5 years growing this department and really bringing life to it. And we'd love to be able to get a sitting director that's got the experience and they can just continue to grow it, right, and evolve it. We'd rather not step back and find someone more junior and have this be like their chance to grow. Ideally, we'd find someone with that experience to walk in the door. So really, I wanted to come have a conversation with you guys about salaries and what we can offer and what our options are with the current candidate we have in the running, or if we have to drop this down and go back out to market.
Okay, thank you for that. So the way this typically works is Mark or the department head will come to us with a specific candidate and a specific step that they're looking to get to.
Yep.
I don't recall ever sort of being in a dialogue where we talk through what we think. I think the process is supposed to work that, well, in your case, you would work with the personnel director and reach some agreement about what you think it should be, and then you come to us and say, if it's going to be somewhat over the midpoint, this is where we think it should be. And I know there's been some time you've had dialogue with Mark. I know there's been ongoing discussions about that. So why don't I ask Mark and or Vanessa to give us whatever input you want to give us on this.
Sure. So I think that Jen has probably articulated where we are pretty accurately. I think that some of the data that she provided, and I haven't looked at all of it, there are town manager communities in there. There are communities in there that includes parks and recreation. So I'm not sure it's all apples to apples. in my opinion, I don't think we're done in our process yet evaluating our candidates. We had one that we really liked. They were paid more by their current employer to stay. As town manager communities, they have that latitude to be able to do that. And you now have, the other candidate who was brought to me, for interview, that is currently making the top end of our range for the candidate, for the position. I just don't, I wouldn't want to bring somebody in that pigeonholes, them at the end of our range. I'm not sure how that, and even at step 11 or 12 on a 15-step range, I don't think that speaks well, to bringing somebody in and telling them your earning potential is limited the next 3 years, and you may just get back to where you were if you were in your current position. We have a number of other candidates. We have a deep pool. We normally don't have a pool like this. We have 30 people apply. We probably have between 6 and 8 people who are either current rec directors in other communities or number twos. I really think that there's more work to be done here before there's a recommendation, to the select board for appointment. So I'm not ready to make a recommendation to the board for appointment yet, because I think that, the interview committee has still got some more work to do to evaluate this pool. I just don't want to, pay somebody, the upper end of the range where I think that we may not be looking at this being long-term.
I've got other comments, but let me give you guys the opportunity.
I love that we finally have a deep pool. I think that's great. A few comments. Who's the appointing authority here? RecCom or Select Board?
Select board.
Okay, so I think from a process perspective, Select Board should go first, right? With whatever recommendation. I'm sure they're leveraging RecCom. Should they appoint the individual that we're talking about here today, I will tell you, I'm certainly open to listening to what Jen is proposing, with a few conditions. One, that the candidate be aware that they're likely looking at COLA increases after, the next 2 or 3 years, and that their eyes wide open to that, because the only thing that would ever change that would be us doing our quadrennial survey, which is still 2 years out, and or a job description, basically you change what the job is, which you may, right? But that's the only 2 ways that we get beyond the COLA. So I just think from a transparency perspective, we'd have to do that. And then I think we also need to be eyes wide open that if we did go through and say this is the right candidate, the select board did appoint, and then we approved that area, it would also create probably a requirement to review all of our department heads that are in this same grade, because one of the things the personnel board has dealt with probably too much, but rightfully so, is our long tenured employees, right? They keep seeing us go out to the market and coming in usually right at midpoint. So just in fairness to long-standing employees that I think are doing an amazing job and have longevity with the town, it would basically have a trickle-on effect, which I realize is not your problem.
Yes.
So I'm trying to find the right road here, because I think we need to bring in the right candidate, and obviously you're a group of volunteers, right? And need someone to run the day-to-day. So I'm certainly willing to listen, but I think we need select board and or the interview committee, whoever that's comprised of, to take action first. So I'm not dismissing it by any means, but just want you to understand, I think that the next couple of steps, at least that I would propose.
I agree with everything Jason just said. My concern when I looked at this was if we were to do this, and again, we need more information. We need to hear from the select board. I heard Mark. My concern is the department heads that have been here for years, and we're bringing someone in, and they're actually going to be this person will be at a higher step than them. He made more money than them, so we would have to review a lot of things. So that was actually, I'm happy you have such a huge pool. This is great. I hope we get someone in really good. But my concern is the existing employees too. So I think we have to kind of look at the whole picture.
Yeah, I have the same concern, and I think, to the extent we need to look at that whole level, and maybe not just that level, other levels, we need to do it in a systematic way, not say we're gonna hire this one and then figure out how we're gonna adjust everyone else. We created a problem for ourselves once before when we did someone over midpoint without thinking through how that might impact other people in the department or other areas. So we need to be cognizant of that. So I think we are sort of all on the same page, and that we're not, I don't think we're in a position to say yay or nay on this based on what we have before us. But I think that the process is, as Jason laid out, if you go back and select board says this is the person we want, and then come back to us and say, this is the rate we want, then the board will have to make a decision on that.
Okay, so how do I make an offer to someone with no pay rate though? So select board will appoint before they've even accepted an offer from us?
You can't make an offer.
I guess, so
It's
there's
not your appointment.
obvious, yes, I know
But you
that.
keep saying,
Okay, so what I'm asking then is, so select board, they will appoint a candidate who has not even received like
No.
a letter from you?
no, they would have
Okay.
to have, they would have an offer made to them.
Okay, but that's, I'm wondering what
That
the
would
rate would be
be-
in that
right.
offer letter.
An offer letter would be made, accepted, and then it would go to select board for appointment.
Okay, so what rate would we put in that offer letter though? That's what
I'm not ready to make an offer.
okay,
I'm not sure we
So-
have, so, you know, you're,
Yeah.
and I don't, this is really not the form
Yeah.
of this and everything, but I'm not convinced we have the candidate yet. And we've not decided, and maybe this is the candidate. Maybe this ends up being the candidate, but we have other people in this pool. Everyone acknowledges this is a deep pool. I'm not sure why, we would
So,
want to not take advantage of this.
respectfully, I believe we have a deep pool because we posted a salary range of 98 to 107.
I disagree.
And we aren't even willing to pay
I
that.
disagree because
But this is a discussion should be had
I'm happy, this is better offline.
offline, exactly. So, okay, why don't we leave it at that? We'll work out whatever issues there are and process issues and come back to us.
We need you, we'll ask.
Exactly.
Thank
And I
you.
assume that's gonna also include a vacation request is my,
It's
and
likely gonna include.
regardless of which
Regardless of
candidate
candidate,
we
it's likely
wanted
gonna
on.
include a vacation request,
Alright.
yes,
And so if we can do those together when, and if you come back,
absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Let me check.
do you want me to get John?
Yes,
Thank you.
Dude, dispatch stuff, it's up to notch in there now.
What's that?
It's Johnson.
no like 7 meetings here. I think.
Yeah.
So we'll jump to, when John gets back, we'll jump to 6A.
On that ball, Bill.
See that?
Hey,
I had 9 o'clock in my calendar for some reason. I don't know.
we usually start at 9. so-
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't remember. if I were
yeah,
at
it was
30 today.
someone maybe had a conflict, maybe it was Michelle and then something changed. Who knows? All right, we're on 6A. You have a memo in the packet. Mr. Condit, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The town has had, the DPW specifically has had a summer help position. And we have utilized that pretty much every year for the past number of years. For some reason, it dropped off the the rating schedule as a position. So my proposal is that we reinstate that position and we continue to utilize that position as we have in the past. And that would be subject, obviously, to fall town meeting ratification of funding the position, which I don't expect to be a problem. We have one person that we're looking at right now. It's a young person. They basically will provide, manual labor skills, planting items, trimming shrubs, non-mechanical type work, no equipment. So very, very basic, very basic.
Okay, a couple of things on this. Obviously, this would fall into the same categories, the two health positions where we'd be approving something. As Bill said, subject to town meeting approval. There is some time pressure here because Bill wants to hire someone. So in addition to the job description which you have in your packet, well, let's do that first. Are there any questions about the job description?
Just formatting, can someone help?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we noticed that at the end of the week and realized, and we scrambled to do it, but couldn't get it done in time. So it needs to be reformatted.
That's just the one we've used in the past.
Yeah.
So it's
So
just
yeah,
now.
Bill, be able to help you with
Understood.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we should approve it subject to it being put in the format consistent with the other job descriptions. Anything else on the job description? Okay.
But they haven't got the full packet, but how did this get left out in the first one? I thought I read it was there before. And
It was there 2 years ago. And prior to that. So I don't know how.
I think it hadn't been used every single year recently when Ms. Galligan was here, so it might have.
I mean, that's my
Taken out,
recollection. It was taken out because it wasn't being used. Okay. That's. Okay, is there a motion to approve the labor job description conditioned on it being put in the proper format?
So
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Normally, as you know, we wouldn't do the classification until another meeting.
Right.
But because of the time pressure, Vanessa and I did, as you can see, it's not the most complicated job description in the world. So we did evaluate it and agreed that it should be a job grade 1. Is there a motion to approve the labor position, the job grade 1?
I'll make the motion, but I think I'm gonna have a discussion, so I'll move it.
Second.
Bill, do you think that job grade and the rate gives you what you need to go out into the market
Absolutely.
to hire?
Absolutely.
But I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. That's been moved and seconded. All in favor? It's approved.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next is 6B, building inspector request for vacation, 3 weeks vacation. So you have the memo and the CV in the package. The only question I have is looking at the CV, the person individual Lily has a number of years experience which would easily qualify for 3 weeks under the SAP. But how much of the experience is full-time versus part-time?
He has been working part-time for a number of years, but, Mark and I both, strongly agree that, he's a really qualified and certified building inspector. And as it's actually quite the opposite of the recreation director recruitment, we had very few candidates. We used Community Paradigm Associates to assist with this recruitment. We only interviewed one other candidate who we did not think was qualified to work in Southborough. So we do recommend the 3 weeks vacation, it's the cost of recruitment right now.
Questions, comments?
Supportive, so.
Okay,
Will we put anything in there that they have to maintain the certification?
That is a requirement of his job.
I don't know whether that's annual or,
I believe it's annual.
You couldn't go do your inspections, you know,
without-
certification, so it's kind of a,
Right.
just like a paramedic couldn't go on the ambulance if they lost the certification, even if they were appointed, then it jump default to that, so.
okay, is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the 3-week vacation request for the incoming building commissioner.
Second,
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is approved. Okay, moving to 6C, annual salary increases. You have the certifications in the packet as well as a spreadsheet that Brian and Emily put together. There are a couple of points to be made about the spreadsheet. First of all, as you all know, there's a small group of employees that's going to receive call it a supplemental payment in addition to what the step calls for under the approach we took to putting people on the grid. Those supplemental payments are not reflected in the amounts that you see under the final rate, 104.5%. So to the extent we approve these rates, board would then have to subsequently hold a second vote to approve those supplemental payments. Secondly, I would note there are a few changes that need to be made in the steps that are listed for each individual. There are a couple of errors there. We won't be voting to approve that. With the extent we're going to be voting, it'll just be to approve the numbers in that final rate, 104.5% column. I had, and we need to talk about the police dispatchers, but before we get to that, for Olivia Battles, it says review receive NA. Why does it say NA there?
She falls in one of the categories that you weren't
Okay.
requiring an annual review. She's a very
All right.
fair time.
Right, okay. All right, let's move on to the police dispatchers. And Brian, you want to explain what was done here?
So basically, as you're aware, they got that raise at town meeting, effective at town meeting, they got put in a new minimum step. So since it was so late in the year, we brought them to the same step into the new grid, and we moved them over one step. So they're basically getting a 2% increase for next year. I spoke with the police business administrator. That seemed to be kind of a common sense way of doing it. So I think if folks agree with that, that'd be great.
So
Okay.
the percentage they got after town meeting, because I think I created this problem, right? When I said we should do it at town meeting because there's an admin error from last year, right?
Right.
So what percentage did they get right after town meeting?
That's a good question.
Because you're trying to make up for last year, right? Because they were in the wrong classification
Right.
last year. And then obviously effectuate everything we've already voted to do for all employees.
what we did at the town meeting was approved the rate that it should have been from the previous town meeting.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
But we couldn't make it effective until the date of town meeting,
Yeah.
so
But
I'm just trying to make sure they ended up with the same raise that employees got over the last 2 years, just.
Okay. But did that.
They got a pretty good, well, at least the one I picked, I don't know if they're all the same rate. But one of them got an 8%. Right off the bat.
So, right, so I would, I think we approved this today, but just if you, can just go back and make sure with Emily that they got at least what, the other employees have gotten over the last 2 years,
fiscal years.
that's where they're gonna end up for FY
We can confirm
25.
that, right?
And if there's
That's fine.
any clerical issues we need to
We'll bring
tidy
it
up, we'll just do another meeting to do it, but let's get them to at least this right now.
Okay, any other questions or discussion about the rates, the spreadsheet?
This has been through multiple sets. I did not audit. I know.
Yeah,
It's crazy to
Emily
think that I
has-
did not audit this.
I've
but-
gone through it,
Okay, I just wanna make sure there's multiple.
Yeah.
Eyes on this.
Yeah, the rates are, I'm 100% sure, right? We did have a couple where the steps were off one step. We just missed it.
yeah, it was a lot
I
of,
have fixed in the
And
master
did you
sheet.
reconcile, not that we have budgetary.
Yeah.
Right, but you then reconcile this back to department budgets where there may be some
So
gaps in what's up.
there are gonna be, if we have a special town meeting, there are gonna be, we're already thinking of putting an article together. To fund like 3 departments that are smaller, that can't absorb. That can't absorb the increase that. You know, it was those special ones that we did, the 3 people.
Yeah, so
ended up being
It was fire, town administrator and assessor.
Assessors, I know assessors is one.
No offense, chief, your budget's a little bigger. than this, but,
I think fire would be okay, we'll see about the town minister, but
Yeah,
we are
okay.
gonna have to tend to that.
and I should note that this was done under a fair amount of time pressure, really caused by me and having to schedule this meeting now, and we had to move up the date, so there are, a number, you notice none of the library ones are here, and there's some other ones that aren't here that you'll have to decide whether you want to. Well, you have 3 options. I think you could do it later this month if you wanted to. You could even do it early in July, Brian.
Correct.
Or you could wait and do it sometime in July and just make them retroactive. So I leave that to you to decide. When we talk about the schedule, you can talk about when you want to do that. But otherwise, I think we're in a position to consider approving the pay rates for FY 25 that are in the packets at pages 21 and 22. So, Jonathan,
Did I hear you say there's a couple of errors in this chart?
in the steps that are listed. So in the column that says step 25 grid, there are a couple of errors there, but they don't affect the pay rate. So those can be corrected. But in terms of the rates are right.
We're not going to step.
We're not voting the steps, we're voting the rates technically. People will see where it is on the,
And by making a motion to approve the pay rates, we are basically categorically signing off on the evaluations. at the same time.
yes.
Okay, so my question is, Mark, can you confirm my request from the last, I don't know if it was the last one, time before that, for every department head that signed these forms, they had a conversation about career development with each of these employees, that no matter how phenomenal they were, right, that they were at least, performing, as expected this year or better, that there was some sort of developmental conversation. We don't need to hear it or see it, right, for each of them. Like, did that conversation occur?
So it was a flurry. At the end, at the end of the week and everything, so I can't say everyone. But I do know that, all of mine, I had, those conversations were had. And I believe that most, but I have to go back through and take a look at everything.
I scanned a lot of them too, not physically scanned, but looked through them as we were getting them ready to give to Emily. And I think there are goals in every single one for FY 25.
Keep pushing, I think,
Yes.
if you don't see those as they come in, or you go back and
Yeah.
when you're not in a flurry, because I think that's really important, and I think given employees usually are watching this now or will watch the replay, they should be asking if their
And I will
department
say
heads
there
aren't
are
giving
some
to
that maybe had, maybe one or two versus three or four, so that's something, we will go back and talk to those managers about.
them. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the pay rate set forth under final 7-1 rate, 104.5% on the spreadsheets appearing at pages 21 and 22 for the employees listed for FY 25?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Those are perfect.
Thank you very much.
Why don't we jump, before we get to health, why don't we jump to a calendar? Because Jason's gonna be leaving, and people have to figure out when you wanna meet next.
I'll make it easy. I think we should just try to figure out with Mark and Vanessa when, if there's gonna be additional pay rates, we don't have to do step retro.
Yeah.
And try to schedule a Zoom meeting, and then we'll, on that Zoom meeting calendar. Going forward, given obviously Barry, your news earlier in the meeting that I don't think any of us were expecting, so. That's what I'd suggest, we
And
just do an
Michelle
email
will be
call.
included in that conversation.
Yeah, so I don't think we should set something today.
Okay,
No, but we have to elect a chair.
We have a vice chair, so vice chair
Okay.
can open the meeting and then we can reorganize that meeting. We can't reorganize based on our agenda today.
No, I know we can't do
Yeah.
it today, but. we need
And
to-
I would just ask, and maybe Barry, you can take this under other business while we're on it, is, I would ask is, if your schedule allows to join us at that meeting, just so we can say a few words, because I don't think we can do that today, or a future meeting, we'd like you to come
yeah, I'll
back
be out of the country.
as a guest of honor, at some point, so
Okay, completely unnecessary, but
we'll get you back.
We want to roast you.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Get a gold watch.
Yeah.
Really?
Rolex.
That I
not
didn't know.
mine.
Okay, I think the only thing left for the health department, Jason,
Hi,
thank
Marie.
you.
Thank you. Have fun.
Thanks, Jason.
This is now in our stage.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I believe I have a forum.
What's that, darn?
Yeah, so I do have
Want
one.
my friend over as a
Please,
panelist?
That'd be great. And I'm just gonna call the Southborough Board of Health meeting to order on Monday, June 10th. At 9:16 AM with myself and Sandra Medina present. Thank you.
Great, so we're here to again consider the two positions, the job descriptions of which we approved at the last meeting. We have the job description on the agenda again because there was a slight modification of it, I think.
Yes,
Correct me if I'm wrong, it was only taking out the reference to Commissioner of Health and Human Services.
correct. On the supervision section.
Yes,
Mhm.
Really a technical change, not a substantive change. So is there a motion to approve and this job description was approved again in the new form by the Board of Health.
Yes,
Is there a motion to approve the job description
So moved.
for a second?
Sorry.
Okay, all in favor? Job description is approved. Vanessa and I did grade the job that you see as a memo in the packet. We concluded that it should be a job grade 8. Any discussion about that? I would entertain a motion to classify the health director position at a job grade 8.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? That is approved. The health agent, we had previously approved the job description, no changes to that. Dan, Vanessa and I graded it and came out at a job grade 5. Any discussion about that?
can I ask a question? about that?
Sure.
So I had an opportunity to look at the FY 25 Schedule A for the SAP. And I do have several comps listed here. And I finished it this morning, so I didn't get a chance to share that. So one of my, and obviously we have to advertise for the position. I don't know what we're going to get for applicants. My concern is that most of the comps are already above step 15 on grade 5. So if I advertise for this position with the range of grade 5, and I'm not getting candidates that fit within that rate that I can offer, what options do I have after that? I you know, I'm not saying that I just don't know. We've never hired this position for full-time in the town of Southborough, so I just am looking for some guidance here.
So the only thing we have to grade based on what's in the existing job description.
Mm-hmm.
If the existing, so we're not focused on what the pay is for that, we're focused on, okay, this job description fits here, whatever that compensation may be.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of is if you can't find anyone, as you said, work, you would have to revise the job description in a way that would generate
Okay.
a higher job grade.
Okay.
We can only go with the document that we have.
Yeah.
And that generates whatever it generates.
I mean, and some of these comps too, and I didn't go through to see what qualifications they have in all these towns, but an RS is a pretty high qualification for this type of role, and not all these towns have an RS in that position. So that's one of my concerns is, you know, we're requiring that this person is getting this within a certain amount of time. So maybe if I do have a candidate that has the RS already, then I change it to be has it instead of intends to get it, and that may be the.
Then it becomes a, you know, permanent requirement.
Yeah, okay. All right, I just wanted to understand what the process was, because I am concerned that even the recommendation from Collins Center was above the highest step on grade 5. So I probably will have to come back to you to go above midpoint, but the Board of Health has not deliberated on this because we're meeting tomorrow. So I will add this to the agenda for tomorrow and come back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to help in any way we can.
Okay. Perfect.
We're restricted to.
Understood.
what we can.
Yep, got it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, is there a motion to approve the health agent position at a job grade 5?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? That is approved.
Thank you. Thanks for your work on this and doing it so quickly.
All right, is there any other business to come before the meeting?
I'd like to ask Mark. We just went through a department head that left to go to another town. And we could apply that to any department head to leave for another town. And typically what I've seen happen is a new person comes in and they get paid more than the guy that left.
Or girl.
Oh, girl, yeah, I'm sorry. But it appears that we're getting into a bidding war. When we go to hire these new heads, or whatever. And
Frustrating, isn't it?
yeah, but it is. Do we offer the person that leaves? Say the person that leaves is making 90,000, and we wind up paying the new one 100,000. Do we offer that person who's going to leave the 100,000 to see if they'll stay?
So I'd love to agree with you, but you know, in practicality, we're just not structured that way, and we don't have that latitude. You know, I don't want to keep beating the drum, and other people have in terms of a town manager. You have a little more latitude to be able to do these things, but it is the unfortunate reality that we pay what we pay, and if somebody is looking to make more, they likely are going to have to go someplace else to our detriment, because maybe they've been here for 15, 20, 30 years, right? And invariably, what you say is true. I cannot get someone to come in and replace that position without paying more, in some cases, significantly more. So why can't we find a mechanism to be able to do that and be competitive with some of these other communities? So I use the chief because he just got here, he's not going anywhere, right? But if the chief
I'm not
said,
talking about.
I
that.
understand, no, I understand that, but I'm gonna use him because he's easy and he's right here, and it doesn't make the case at all, but if the chief wanted to leave and they were gonna pay him 10 or 15 grand more to go someplace else, and I had the latitude to be able to say, you know, I really want you to stay and I'll match that, or I'll do this for you in order to, you know, so that you could stay. Yes, we don't have those same latitudes that other communities and other structures have.
What has to be done to
Well,
get that now?
Let me just throw in something, because we did, there is a provision in the SAP that allows us to give a mid-year increase under extraordinary circumstances. And this came up, you recall, with an employee in the fire department, where they were looking for an increase mid-year. And one of the reasons was the fear that the employee might leave if we didn't do it. And we determined in that case that we didn't consider that to be extraordinary circumstances. If we were faced with a situation where someone had received an offer from another town and was going to leave, you might say that's extraordinary circumstances. So theoretically, it's not the most efficient
It's
way.
a lot of hoops.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, theoretically, that could happen, I suppose,
But to be able to react quick enough to make it effective remains the problem. So even though we potentially have a end around that we can do to get there, it's still gonna require multiple meetings.
Yeah.
Of, you know, meeting with this board, meeting with the appointing authority, you know, all of those things and that, and can we react in time to do it? So.
It's scary because we're getting like the pro athletes. You know, I'm gonna go play for the Celtics because, you know, they're offering me more than what. But you're at the mercy of the people who are hiring.
It's, you know what, John, it's the culture right now. You know, there's not enough people to fill all of these municipal positions. You know, and so it's a little bit of a, you know, buyer's market that, you know, candidates have choices.
but we have to give people other reasons to want to work here besides just how much they're making. I mean, we know we have a lot of people who could make significantly more.
We've done, you know, and I will point to Miss Hale, because, you know, oftentimes we can't pay the most, but we do put together, and by we, I mean her, you know, puts together a nice picture of what we do, how we do, and, you know, and sometimes that's enough. But if it's a straight, if we're in a straight money issue, you know, we are where we are.
I'm sure that in your deliberations, when you go for these people, you consider somebody that's just starting and let them learn on the job.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
some cases, yes, but that's not ideal for every department, you know, it depends on, you know, timing and what that department needs at the moment.
We don't have the depth in our departments, John, to be able to say, I'm willing to take in a person who's less experienced and mentor and develop them. You know, I wouldn't do that to Brian, you know, bringing in his new payroll and benefits person. She's amazing, right? We paid for amazing, right? Because we needed to, because that is a position that you need to. There's no, you know, I mean, you know, he's got other staff in his office who are trained as backups, but, you know, it's not something you want to mess around with, you know, so you need to pay, you know, for those things too.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.